Hi, Kayla of Purple Rust here. Now today's video is not in the usual programming for my channel, but it does involve scrap metal, so stay with me here. I wanted to give you a tour of my garden and how I made everything. So in this video, I'm gonna show you a little tour of how it sits today, and then I'm gonna show you how I built a lot of these containers. So that all happened last year, so I'll basically take you through the entire season last year, and then at the end of the video I'll show you how the vegetable garden sits today. Yeah, this is another passion of mine, probably my main one, so I want to show you. There's more generator footage coming. Alright, this is a water feature I made quite a few years ago. The top is a piece of copper flashing from a building that was being demoed. My dad brought home a bunch of it. I thought it was pretty cool looking, so I still have quite a bit of it. And the bottom is just a bin that was in his steel scrap pile that I thought looked really cool. So I just kind of put them together with a little pump inside. I'll show you the back side. So that piece of copper is just on a piece of rebar that I have pushed into the ground. And the water line comes up here and it gets deposited there. The birds really like to sit on this shelf and flap around. Now, I was using big bags in there because it's very rusty in there and the water was turning like neon orange. I was getting drum liners from where I worked, but I don't work there anymore, so I needed a new solution. So I put 2 cans of clear Flex Seal in there, and it's worked really well. I mean, it's pretty cloudy, but that doesn't matter. It's keeping the rust secured. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And this is an old water heater, like a hot water tank from a really old house, I believe. That's a beer keg, half of a keg. And a pipe flange of some kind, and there's a rim down there. So there's that, and then I have another water feature right here that I also really like, and I have video of how I made it, so I think I'll show you that. So I made this whole thing from top to bottom. There's a cart down there, and then these were all just individual sheets that I assembled into a box shape. And this is a light fixture that you would have in a shop. It has the 4 long tube lights in it. So there's that one. So that's a bucket on a post. I have video of that too. I changed out the bucket because for some reason I originally used the oldest bucket I could have possibly found, and it just it only lasted 1 more year. That's the base of a barbecue. This one's really cute. I found those legs at a secondhand store, and it has just like a ring on top, and I saw it in the store and I thought I can attach a pot to that. So then I have it on a couple other pieces there. I don't know what that is. Some kind of, I don't think it's a shock. Like, I don't know. It's solid. Another piece of a pipe. So this is another one of those 4 tube light fixtures. This is probably my favorite one. Very unique. So they go all the way to the bottom of that garbage can. That's another piece of that copper flashing. So is that actually. That's all part of it too. A local guy makes these squish fish. They're pretty cute. I don't know what that is. Maybe somebody will recognize what that is. But that makes kind of an interesting pot too. There's another light fixture. They're just barely deep enough. And then this, some kind of itty bitty little trailer here. And that box had nothing to do with the trailer, but I was eyeing them up and I thought that looks like it would fit perfectly on there. So I put the box on the trailer and it had that top trim was matching on the bottom, and the trim just made it a little bit too big to fit in between the wheels. So I took the trim off and the bottom fell out because I guess the trim was the only thing holding it on. So I replaced the bottom and filled it up. I really like that one too. And that one in the back is part of a weather station, I don't know, that was being demoed again. My dad was involved with that, and it was painted all gray, so it looked like nothing. But I remember him saying as soon as he picked it up, he knew that it wasn't stainless steel or whatever, because it was way heavier than that would have been. So he kind of scratched it with his knife and saw that it was brass and copper and was like, can I take these instead of putting them in the dumpster? And they're like, yeah, whatever. So got quite a few of those too. Coleus here. Had a near casualty here, but I think it'll come back. That's the bottom part of the top of the barbecue that went with that. And I've got these pieces of steel here. Look, it looks like slate, but it is steel. It's been in such a wet environment that they're just falling apart. So I laid those out kind of in a brick formation. I really quite like what I've done back here. And then I put a couple green stalks up on top of the sea can, just for fun. So I loaded those up with plants that the hummingbirds really like. So hopefully once they start to bloom nice and big, the hummingbirds will be very happy. And if I can back up here, I made an arch out of rebar. Yeah. So these are all just loose panels that I put together to make this box. Kind of looks like a bed with a headboard sort of thing. And then I attached it to this cart down here so we can move it around because it's going to be quite heavy once it gets full. This is all copper flashing from a building that was demoed downtown. I was hoping to use it to make some kind of water feature off of this thing, but I don't know if I'm kind of making it too complicated and I'm not doing anything as a result. So I think I'm gonna kind of simplify the idea so that I actually get this done. I do want a water feature to be involved, but also planting. So I'm thinking like some kind of water coming off the top and like dripping into a container kind of in the middle, and then plantings all the way around. And then I was thinking, you're gonna have to visualize this, but this is another light fixture. But if I put this up here, oh boy. So attach it up here. Like obviously this would be lined up with that, so there'd be no hole here. I thought that would be an interesting thing because it would be kind of cantilevered off the edge, and I could do some plantings in there too. So there's quite a bit of work to do on this thing still, but I would like to see my vision come to life. So yeah, just have to keep plugging away on it. And I do have more important things to be doing, so I was hoping to have this all done by the end of the week, but today is Sunday, so I guess that's not going to happen. All right, so here's an update from what I did yesterday. I addressed the depth problem. It was just so deep, and I couldn't really figure out a way to fill it with anything that was light enough, just so that I wasn't using so much soil, because this is like 2 feet deep. I tried like upside down pots and stuff, and they just weren't fitting right and whatever. So I made like, there's a whole structure underneath this, but this is just like 3/4 plywood. So now there's much less of a soil reservoir, so that's good. And then I messed around for quite a while trying to simplify the idea for a water feature, but I ended up kind of sticking to the original plan. I've got this bin in there, so that will be the reservoir for the pump. And then, pause, one moment. So then I'm thinking of something like this. So the pump would be down in there, and I would have the hose coming up here and then depositing the water right in there. And then the water would come along. I'll have to bend this down a bit so the water would fall off the end, fall onto here. It would be kind of a flat surface. I think the birds and maybe the bees would really like that. And then it'll fall into the bucket. But the problem is that you can see the bucket and it's all exposed. Like this would just be full of water. So then I'm trying to think of how to cover that up. And then I found this piece of scrap here, which just happens to be cut in the exact shape that I needed it. I couldn't believe that. So I could do something like this, pause. I could do something like this just to cover it up so that debris and animals don't fall in there. I wouldn't use this exact piece because it's too big still. But you can still see all the infrastructure. Like the dirt will be up to here to cover that, but you can still see the bucket. So then I got another idea. Wait for it. All right, so this is the extra that I cut off of this piece. So I'm thinking that I could attach this, cut a hole for that piece to sit in, and then cut a hole for that piece to sit on. But then I'm still kind of wondering, because the water is going to kind of dribble off throughout that arm. So I'm wondering if I should kind of take inspiration from this piece and cut a whole bunch of holes in here, or drill a whole bunch of holes. I think I'll just kind of do less at first and see how it goes. But I like this piece because it's exactly this. I literally cut it off at the end here, so it all kind of goes together. And it has this lip on it which covers the bin. So I think I would cut it like back here, just as much as I need to cover the bin. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna try to go that route. Again though, this is so rusty that the water that lands on here and then is dropping into the bucket is gonna be, I think it's gonna be pretty dirty from the rust. Like it's gonna be taking chunks of rust with it. So I don't know. I'll go in that direction and see how it goes. All right, made a bit of progress here. I just happened to get that hole in the right spot and the right size. It's like I know what I'm doing or something. I don't know. So now I will continue to figure this out. I'm currently trying to fit this kind of tight to the edge. Sorry. so you can see it the least amount possible. I've got that. I cut this hole for this to sit on top of, but I wanted it big enough for my arm to fit through so I can work in there, but small enough that this wouldn't fall through. I might still have to drill some holes like around it maybe, because I was practicing with the scoop there, just slowly dripping water down on there, and it was starting to roll off the edge, which I don't want to happen. So, but I'll figure that out once this is all in place. Okay, so I've got this all in place and it's not long enough. The end of the tube is like just below the surface of this, so I want it obviously to go down to the bottom of the bucket down there. So I'm gonna use this piece of irrigation tubing I have. Obviously it's not perforated, and that should work. I might have to put a couple elbows. I might put one there, so it doesn't get all kinked up. Yeah. All right, here's an update. On the camera, it looks like it's actually dripping, but it is a steady stream. I drilled a hole there to help it drain better. And it is pretty much all going in the hole. Not really digging this sticking up. At the same time, I don't really want to cut it off because I don't want a fresh edge exposed. Anyway, so the first pump I tried was not strong enough. So then I tried the other pump I have and it was too strong. It was like flying off the end. So I put an extra valve in line. So I have that neck down pretty significantly. And there we go. That's pretty much what I had in mind. I'm gonna mess around with it for a little bit. Yeah, cool. I forgot to mention this, which I put on the other day. This is, I don't know, a part off of a vehicle. Tell me what it is in the comments below. But I wanted the bolts to be below the soil surface so you couldn't see them. So I'm gonna line it with this black piece of tarp, like that. And I was thinking maybe like a dwarf sunflower or something, maybe. All right, it's planted and I like it. I like it a lot. I'll probably do a more thorough tour. Okay, people, I'm making a thing. I'm already halfway through it, but I thought, why not just video it? Okay, here's the deal. I'm gonna put this bucket on top of this stand. So I'm gonna put it right here, and then I'm gonna cut big holes in the bucket, and it'll be a gigantic hanging basket on a post kind of thing. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna put 3 Proven Winners Vista bubblegum in there. They get absolutely massive, so I think they'll have no problem covering up. And then in the very top, I think I'll put some Vermilion Arcufia to get the hummingbirds around. And maybe if this part isn't quite covered, maybe I'll put some lemon coral sedum in the top there just to spill over the top a little bit. Here's another unique planter. It weighs about 5,000 pounds, but I put this piece of rebar in there. And then I like putting these tiny little pots just on the top of any sticks that you might have the potential of bending down and poking out an eye. Yeah, so I'm planning on putting a tomato in there, and then I can tie it up to the rebar. Here's some other stuff I've been doing. I found that broken piece of like a concrete pipe that I put a bottom on. I just like kind of friction fit a bottom in there, and I thought this would look cool with a lemon coral sedum kind of draping out of it. And this is kind of the same idea as that one. This is like a pipe flange that I also put a bottom on. I like using garbage cans, stuff like this. You know, just poke a couple holes in there and it's a planter. Oh, and this was the base of a barbecue that we got rid of. So I put a bottom and a back, and now it's a great big planter. Here's another one, old sink full of nanyons. Just planted those yesterday. This is kind of interesting too. This was part of a like a weather, I don't know, it like collected the rain, and like it was some kind of weather thing. But there, it was painted this color, solid all over, but it's brass and copper underneath. So I shined it up, sprayed it with some like a top coat, clear top coat, and it's been like that for years. It's awesome. Looks like that on the bottom. So I think I explained this earlier. So this doesn't have a bottom to it. It just is a straight hole down. So I put a plastic pot underneath it to catch to like make a false bottom pretty much. And it's up on a stand, so I'm gonna plant a heuchera in there. Nope, that's not it. Dolce Wildberry. So this is a pretty satisfying way of planting things that I just tried recently, and it works really well. Okay, so now that's all packed in there. Take this out. Got a perfect hole. That's the perfect size of the plant. Just rough up that root ball a tiny little bit. Here we go. And you literally just bloop, and it's planted. It's unique. I have to remember to pick it up from the bottom only. Okay, somebody remind me to put these very heavy, large containers into position before I fill them with dirt, because they're already heavy to begin with. Hi people. So I have been working up a storm here on this little rusty garden. Let me turn you around. Well, today I will say the date is May 26th, and it's a gross day out, but May showers bring June flowers, right? Let me turn around and I'll show you the progress. So this is probably my favorite pot so far. This is all just jumbled up, by the way. I haven't put anything into position yet, but I think this is just so unique and interesting. That's going to be a good one. Here I have a couple tomatoes with decorative flowers surrounding. Here, this is like a shop light that you'd have, like the long tube lights inside there, and I just flipped it upside down and filled it with dirt. So that one should be cool. These here I planted end of March, so this is basically a 2-month update. So this one's put on quite a bit of growth. This is Super Tuny Bubblegum. This one's put on medium growth, and this one, I'm kind of thinking I might replace it, but it's still alive, so I don't know what the heck. They were all planted on the same day. I don't really know what's going on there. And then 2-month update on this guy. There's 3 holes on the bottom, 3 holes like at this level, and then the top is open. So on the bottom holes, there's 3 Super Tuny Bubblegum, and then on the top is Yellow Chiffon, I think it's called. And then on the tippity top, I've got Vim Millionaire and a couple others. So I'm excited for that progress. Got this guy here. 2-month update. This little trailer here is looking good. I've only planted a few things in here so far. A few perennials and that one marigold. This is interesting. I just got this yesterday. I don't know anything about it other than that. Never tried it before. Got little squished fishies. I've got all of this to plant. And oh, this one. This is the bottom of a barbecue. I think this is going to look pretty good, actually. There's like a variegated potato vine here, and I guess I bought a dud because it like died almost immediately, but I thought, well, I've got a good one on the other side here. And then can you believe it, I was watering this planter, and my hand like glitched out when I was holding the watering wand, and it came down and chopped it right off. Boink. So now I don't have any. I couldn't believe it. And this will be looking pretty good here too. It's colorful. This is like an old hot water tank from back in the day in somebody's house. So like I said, I haven't positioned any of these things yet. I'm still just working on it. So it looks like a bit of a jumbled mess right now, but there's potential. So I did put up this deer fence. Here, I'll come around the other side here. With just scrap rebar that we had laying around. I kind of formed this piece to fit the shape of the tree. So this is a 6 foot tall deer netting. It's very fine. You almost can't even see it. It's cheap. It does tear easily. This is the gate right here. I made an arch. Nice big wide gate. I put a piece of bamboo there in the center to kind of support it in the middle. It's not attached to the ground though, it just sits there. And I have these black hooks to hold this piece in place. So I just undo it like this, bring it over here, and set it in there. Easy to put up. And I just zap strapped it to the poles. The perennial container here looks great. I really enjoyed that plant, that big white one in the middle there. Let's see, I see some plant ticks sticking out here. This, where is this one? I think that's in the back corner over there. I can't even see it. Midnight Masquerade is one of my favorites. That's that pink flower back there. So this big white one is this. $9.99, pretty good price. If I was filling up a large area, I would get more of those, which I'm not doing yet. Oh, so soft. Yeah, it's as soft as it looks. I was impressed with the begonia. This was my first year ever planting them, surprisingly. I really enjoyed them. So this was one of my favorite planters. That coleus stayed quite small for a lot of the year, which I enjoyed because you could still see the metal. Look at that lemon coral sedum, it's loving it. I didn't even notice it was kind of climbing up. Okay, so in this big pot, I had Super Tutti Bordeaux, classic. These ones, the Rockin' Fuchsia Salvia. I had the fuchsia and the deep purple in here. They kind of just looked like this the entire season. Just kind of half blooms. I don't know what's up with that. I've got multiple plants in multiple locations. And yeah, I've grown them before and they were great. I don't know what went on there this year. That died right away. The deep purple, more Bordeaux. What's this one? Coleus. I don't see that in there anymore. These were quite nice, actually. Super Bells Holy Moly. I've got it in another plant. Yeah, here it is, right here. They were cute. I did like those. Snow Princess Alyssum. That's all this white fluffy you see. These ones, they're good, classic. More Holy Moly. Snowstorm Blue Soteria. I don't see that either. What about this one? Can I find? There they are. Okay. Again, Bordeaux, classic. Super Tutti Saffron Finch was great. Definitely a repeat there. Okay, the star of the whole summer was Vermillionaire Kufia. I said at the beginning of the year, this plant is awesome for hummingbirds. Absolutely amazing for hummingbirds. Of course, there's not one there, but 80% of the time, oh, there's one. 80% of the time I look out the window, there's a hummingbird flying around these plants. I was really thinking, and I kind of wish I had have just set up like a live stream of basically this position right here. And you can just watch the hummingbirds all day. Maybe next year. Okay, so this was a major winner. Supertunia Velvet, Royal Velvet, excuse me. That's this one, another great plant. Supertunia Royal Magenta, again, another fantastic one. Definite repeat again. Sunsatia Coconut, Nemesia. Where is it? I know I have this somewhere else, I'm pretty sure. I don't see it in this planter right now. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. But I would repeat it because I do have it elsewhere and it was good. This one though, I've grown this before, Lantana. This is the Luscious Pinkberry Blend. I've grown this before. I could not see it all year until right now. There's a tiny little spot of it. Yeah, I don't know. It was completely just like covered up. I can see little bits of it sticking out here now that everything else is dying back. So maybe it's not quite as aggressive as everything else. But there you go. Moving on. Let's see if I can find them in this. Ooh, this might be tricky. Oh, I put them in front of each plant. Darn. Coleosaurus. Great one. Really enjoyed it. Lime and Shine was a bit smaller than the rest, but still provided that great pop of color. They don't look all the best right now. They looked better like a month ago, like I'm saying. I had one die right in the middle of here, so there is a bit of a hole. Kingswood Torch. This one's cool. Let's find that one. The plant looks better than the tag. Then over here I have two Wildberry Heuchera and an Autumn Frost Hosta. Oh, I had some, what are these called? Shoot. Caladiums, I think? Is that what they're called? Where's your tag? Here we go. Puppy Love Caladium. They didn't do so well. One of them I bought without a tag, and I remember in the store some of them said full sun, some of them said full shade. So the one without a tag, obviously I didn't know if it wanted shade or sun, and this one didn't do well. This one's puny. That must be the Puppy Love. And then the Autumn Frost Hosta and Dolce Wildberry. Another one right here in this really unique container. I like that one. I've got a mess of tags all over the place now. What else? This hanging basket finally snapped out of it. It still is smaller than the others though. So again, that's a hanging basket, the dark purple, one single plant in there. This magenta is one single plant. And this bubblegum Supertunia is one single plant. Now there is another one in this pot, they kind of melding together. This, it was a tray, like a light fixture. I had Dusty Miller and Yellow Marigold. On the tag it said they got to around the same height, so I wasn't sure which to put in front of the other. I put the marigolds in the back, and the Dusty Miller completely took over. You can't, the marigolds are gone. Like, they're all dead. And then I had Bordeaux lining the front, I think, which the Bordeaux actually doesn't look all that strong there, but I mean, everything did look good earlier in the season. Moving along, a couple tomato plants that didn't really do anything. Made them suffer too much. Okay. Here's another star of the show, which I'm glad I picked up. What is this? Essential, but spelled funny. Essential raspberry lemonade Nemesia. Star of the show in this container for sure. They have almost completely died back now, but they were really cute. I really enjoyed those. And they're in this planter here. This Dusty Miller overwintered from last year. So I'm thinking about this for next year. What could I attempt to overwinter? I'm thinking like all the Proven Winners ones are the most expensive plants. I think I'm gonna try. I mean, there's no harm in trying. In cutting these back, putting them into small pots, and trying to keep them alive over the winter. I'm noticing a lot of honeybees now that I've just said that there haven't been many. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, them just kind of buzzing around. Okay, back to this pot. Here's another one that was good. Bordeaux again. Here's a new one, Campfire Marshmallow. Biden's Hybrid. That was pretty good too. And this pot is the bucket on a stand with the holes in the side. It did really well as well. Oh, there you can see that white, what was that called? Nemesia or something? Again, the star of the show was that the Millionaire up there. I did not have this one anchored into the ground, and we had one windy day. It fell over 3 times that one day, and that was it. It hasn't fallen over yet again. This one now, it really doesn't look good right now compared to what it did look. It looked awesome all year. Probably the only plant I wouldn't buy again is this Supertunia Priscilla. It's basically Bordeaux, which is this, but a double. And it just looks kind of ratty all year. The dead blooms are really big because they're a double, and they don't really hide the dead blooms all that well. I can see a bunch of tags in the bottom of this container, so I think I'll try to gather those up. As I was crawling around down here trying to pick up those tags, I noticed these. Look how cool those are. It's a trailing something. I'll try a bit harder to find those tags. Okay, I crawled on my hands and knees back here to find the tag for this. So I just want to give you a view here. And this is like quite shaded back here. There's the tag. All right, I've got a big old stack here of the plants that I used in this very unique, interesting water feature bed. The first one is this dark sweet potato vine, which is right here. It's been mowed down, unfortunately. These Nemesias were awesome. Really enjoyed those. Queen Tut. graceful grasses right behind the water feature there. There's 2 of them there. Lemon coral sedum, another expensive one. Here I had 2 Persian shield, again not cheap, and they didn't look very good all year. Marigolds back here desperately need to be deadheaded. I should say that too, I did not fertilize or deadhead a single time in this whole garden. I literally planted everything, I set the automatic water and walked away from it. I have not touched it. There's the lemon slice, that was a good one. Had 2 of those. Rockin' Deep Purple, I had a couple, 1 purple and 1 pink I think back there. Snow Princess on the end here. This one was pretty cute actually, first time with it. Sunbeanie. It's that right there. And Super Bells Holy Moly. I love that one, it was awesome. Goldilocks Rocks was another good one. Right there. Looks like I had 3 of those. Super Tuny Bordeaux, again, classic. Had quite a few of those. Priscilla, probably won't do that one again. Campfire Marshmallow. Right up the top here, you can see them. Right there. Again, they've started to die back because tomorrow is September. Snowstorm Blue. A little bit left. And the white down there. I really enjoyed these water features. They worked perfectly. I was unplugging them at night, and then I kind of started not unplugging them. Another thing here that I planted up, this lemon coral sedum has been fully exposed to the deer, and you can see they have been gnawing on it a little bit, but I mean, it's in general it's still there. The alyssum that I planted in the bottom of this got completely ripped out by the deer. It's starting to grow back, but like you see there's one missing there completely. They pulled it right out altogether. This is the other water feature. This planter looked real nice all year. Again, it was fully exposed to the deer. This is one Vermillionaire plant I have on the top of it. They just recently started eating the Vermillionaire, so I would say it's like somewhat resistant because that was the last thing that they went for. And it's just a bunch of Super Tunias here. I had alyssum in the bottom there, and you can see that it's been well eaten. Yeah, I wish I would have done this when the plants were in their prime, but honestly, I wouldn't have been able to get the tags out. So I cut this one back a number of weeks ago. I think it was like the first week of September, and a lot of new growth in here, as you can see. So I've already cut it back again, all this scraggly stuff on the outside, but I do want to try to overwinter these, or at least, you know, a couple of them just to see if it works. Maybe I should do this after I weed.